Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this adorable little nautical gnome, and if you want to make the helm to go with him, at the very end of this video I have a video showing how to do that. Okay, we're going to start with some cotton fabric, a sock, we're going to need some wire, a couple of little dowel rods, 1/4 inch, we're going to need a hair noodle, I'm using a half bead for the nose, you need some corks, some weights, some shoes, some rope, some faux fur, you need a styrofoam cone, and if you want to make the little hands, you're going to need a mold and some air dry clay. Okay, to get started, we're just going to take our sock and we're going to put our styrofoam cone down into the bottom of it. And then just pull that up as far as you can because you want as much of that sock left over to make the hat. Just go ahead and rubber band that around, and we're going to cut that off at about a 1/2 inch above that. Then just to make sure it stays in place, we're just going to open it up a little bit and we're just going to add some hot glue to that and seal that up. Okay, then to make the shirt, we're just going to take our fabric starting at the edge and we're going to draw a line underneath the cone as we go around. And that's going to be our marking line for our pattern. And then we're going to cut about 1 inch below that all the way around in that curved shape, and that'll be his top. Okay, then go ahead and glue it down one side, and then we're just going to roll it around to the opposite side. And then when we get to the other side, because we do want a straight line down his back, we're just going to fold that back and glue it so it's straight down his back. Okay, then go ahead and put a rubber band around the top so it stays in place, and then we're just going to tuck under the fabric and just go probably about, 3/8 of an inch over the edge of the bottom, and then we're going to come back in later and we're going to glue that down. Just go ahead and glue all the way around there just to hold it in place. And then we're going to go ahead and do his shoes. Now we're taking a cork and cutting it in half. We're going to use one 1.5 inch cork, and then we're going to cut this cork in half. So that's going to be 1.5 inches and 3/4 of an inch if you're wanting to use a noodle instead. And we're going to cut our sticks at 5 inches. And I went ahead and sharpened the other end, and you will need to do that as well. And then we're going to put one full cork and 1/2 cork on each one of those sticks. And just make sure before you glue these into your shoes that you do have these straight. If you have to trim the cork a little bit more just to make sure you're straight, just make sure that they're even. Then go ahead and put your weights inside of your shoe before you do this part. I skipped it and had to go back and do it. So go ahead and put your weights down in the toes and then glue in your little leg. And if you want your shoes to be a little bit more full, add a little bit of stuffing in there as well in the toe, and it'll fill that shoe up. Just go ahead and pull that up, tie it off. Make sure your right's on your right and the left's on your left, and then go ahead and put those inside your cone. And just kind of space them in the middle kind of evenly. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and make his legs, and these are going to be little slouch legs, so we're going to glue up the long side and one short side. And then we're going to wrap those around his leg, just to make sure that your seam ends in the back. So you can get it on there first, however you want to, just leave it a little bit loose, and then glue it down. You can always just twist it to the back. And then we're going to put some glue around the top part of that cork and just push that on down. Just try to make it really flush. And then pull your pants leg down over the top part of your shoe. And then do the same thing with the second one. Just make sure your seam is in the back. And then push that one on flush too and glue that in. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and put them in permanently now. So we're going to go ahead and glue them in. Just make sure your right foot's on the right and your left foot's on the left. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do his beard, and I'm just cutting a 2" by 2" beard. And then I'm just going to draw a little U shape around there, and then I'm going to cut behind the faux fur only, all the way around, just the backing only on the backing, and then go ahead and comb off the excess. Next, I'm going to do the hat. I'm going to take the opposite end of the sock. I'm going to start up about 1 inch, and I'm going to just curve it over to that side, but I'm leaving about a 1/2 inch at the top. Go ahead and turn it inside out, and go ahead and glue that down. Okay, once that's dry, turn it right side out, and we're going to put it aside. And then I decided to come back in here on this part and glue that on down because it almost looked like a little dress at first. And so I'm gluing it to the body itself, just kind of curving it over the edge. And then I'm going to come down 4 inches from the tip of the cone, mark it, and that's where I'm going to put the beard. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and put the hat on. Just glue that in there really good. And then we're just going to pull the hat on down over the top. Okay, next I'm going to make the hands, and I'm using the air dry clay, and I'm going to add a little bit of a peach paint to it to kind of tint it up to make some hand color. You just put a little bit in there and then just start mixing it up. It is kind of a little bit messy on your hands at first, but it goes pretty quick and you can get it cleaned up pretty quick. Just really mix that in good so that you do get the skin tone color. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to press it in the mold. Now you're going to press this really hard into that mold. Get both of them pressed all the way down in there because you want to make sure your entire cavity there is full. And then I'm just starting to take some of the excess off because you want to keep pulling it off till you can see the hand instead of around the clay. So you want to make sure you can see the hand. Otherwise you're going to have to do some trimming, and you don't want to have to do that. So just keep pushing it down till you get it all the way in there. Just keep trimming it off until you can see the hand in the mold. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. Just like that. And then do the same thing for the other side. Then once you get them completely filled in like that, you're going to go ahead and just bend it back and pull those out. And it was easier to do. You can go ahead and trim off any excess you have and then put a stick in the bottom of it, a wire in the bottom of it. It was a lot easier than using the baking clay. Okay, next we're going to do his arms. We're going to take our noodle. We're going to pull our wire out of it. And then we're going to cut these off at 2½ inches each. And then I'm going to show you here, right here, I'm doing an angle. I'm coming in from the side. I'm going to do an angle to cut like that. And the reason I am is because you can see right there it's flush with his body. Then you don't have to put it up underneath his hat. Do the same thing for the opposite side. And then we're going to go ahead and make his sleeves. So you're going to go down 1 long end and 2 short ends. I put my hand in there just to make sure how much hangover I have, because you want to make it right at the end, and we're going to squeeze that shut after a while. And then we're going to go ahead and glue our hand down into our noodle. Just make sure that your hand gets glued also to that noodle, just in case it were to come off that wire. Okay, then we're going to make sure that our hand, the front part of our hand is opposite with that diagonal part that we cut off. So you're going to have your diagonal part at the back and your hand, the top of your hand at the front. Just make sure that gets glued into that arm good, because you want to make sure that it's flush with that body. And then go ahead and attach that sleeve to the arm, to the hand itself. And do that on both of them. Just take your time on this one, because you really want to make sure you get that angle at the back. And that's where your seam for your shirt is going to be at the back as well. Okay, then we're going to take a wire. We're going to come in right below where the hat is. Just figure out where you want your arms exactly. Cut both ends of that wire off and run it through that styrofoam cone and out the opposite side. Just push a, cut it in there and make sure it comes out, and that they make sure they are even before you continue on with this. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and bend my wires forward because I am going to attach him to the steering wheel, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue up inside there just to hold that wire in place. And then we're going to add our arms. Now just put your arms up against that wire. You may need to trim your wire a little bit on both of them. And then we're just going to put those arms straight up in there. You can add a little bit of glue into the noodle if you want to. You really don't have to because we are going to glue it to the body. Just make sure that that diagonal edge is on the back part. And we're going to go ahead and bend his arms forward. And then I wanted to show you, if you don't want your styrofoam cone to be cone shaped in the back, you want it more flat, just roll it real hard on your desk, pushing it like that, and it will flatten out that styrofoam. So you have a nice flat edge on the back. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach his arms to the body. Just push that shirt up on in there. So you have fabric on fabric. And then do the same thing for the opposite side. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and pull his hat down and glue it down in the back. And then we're going to attach his nose. And I'm using a 15mm half bead for his nose. Just going to lift up the top part of his hat and glue that down. And then we're going to glue the top part of his hat to his nose. Okay, then I've got some rope. I got this at the Dollar Tree in the nautical section, and I'm just going to wrap it around twice. I'm going to go not straight across. I'm going to go overlapping in the front, so you have kind of an X in the front. And I'm just going to start gluing that down and get it all glued in. So just make sure you continue until you get your rope completely glued in. Then I'm taking this little circle. I painted it like a life preserver, added some jute to it. I'm just adding that to the top of his hat. All right, pretty easy. Now, if you want to know how to make the little helm to go with him, that video is coming up now. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some wood glue, and I'm going to take these little Jenga blocks, and I'm just going to glue 2 of them together for the base for the platform. And then I went back in and added 2 more below that one because it wasn't tall enough for him, so you might want to go ahead and do that now. Then you're going to take 2 together and glue those together, and that's going to be for the to put the steering wheel on. And then we're going to lift up the middle, one in the center, just to kind of give it a little bit of shape to the platform. Just glue them down with wood glue, and then you just put those aside and let them dry while you build the steering wheel part. Now I'm taking a little diagram. I've given that to you below. I'm just taking a piece of press and seal. You can use cellophane or whatever. I'm just putting a little bitty circle in the middle, and I'll give you where I got all these links. It's a little wooden circle. Putting it right there, and then I'm going to start cutting my little 1/8" dowel sticks at 1 3/8, and I'm going to cut one, and I'm going to use that piece to mark all the others. You're going to cut a total of 8 of those. And then you're just going to glue them onto that little circle using that diagram. Just make sure you have all 8 of them cut. And then we're just going to glue those to that circle. Now you'll have a little cellophane left over on the back once you get that all pulled off, but you're not going to see it because it's going to be glued in. Okay, just position them exactly around that little diagram so that your lines are pretty straight. And then just start gluing the tips of them to the circle in the middle. And we're going to come back in with another circle and a bigger circle, so it will hold together well. Okay, then there's the big, that's the main steering wheel. Just put it right there in the middle, center it, draw some lines around the edge, just so that you know where you're going to put your hot glue. So you're going to put your hot glue above those lines. It's about the same diameter as that circle. And just make sure that that's centered real good. You want to make sure that because that's going to be a major focal point. Then we're going to come back in with a little bit bigger circle and put it in the middle. And then we're going to go ahead and pull our cellophane off. And we're going to start cutting it in the back. So go ahead and pull it off your paper after everything's dried, and then just start pulling it off. I'm just going to go ahead and roll it up in a ball and cut it off right there, and then just trying to get the most of what I can get off of there by going around and cutting it. And then here's where the platform wasn't big enough, so I had to add 2 more of those little blocks to this. And I'm just wood gluing those together. And then I'm going to attach my steering wheel to that base. Just going to take some hot glue. Just make sure that you have one of the lines sticking straight up. And then go ahead and add a bunch of hot glue to that. And then we're going to paint it with a Krylon leather brown paint. Just let it dry real good. And then take it outside and paint it. Okay, then attach it to your gnome. Nothing to it. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to see future videos, hit subscribe. And if you want to be notified when I have another video, hit the bell. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.